Doug Wiley with Police Magazine. I'm here with Rob Harris, here with the PPL here in Los Angeles, the Police Protective League. We talked a couple of weeks ago about a very specific type of call in responding to people with mental health crisis, whether that's a permanent mental health issue or something that's temporary. But it's part of a larger problem where the police are being called to do just about everything, where there are other city services and other providers who would be more appropriate. Whether that's, again, mental health care, the homelessness is a terrible issue, the opioids crisis, where cops are going out there, they're almost being asked to be EMTs in addition to being cops, hitting people with Narcan to revive them from an overdose. How does the PPL address the fact that the list of things that your officers are being asked to do seems to exponentially grow every year?
Yeah, so the PPL, we spend a lot of time with our elected officials and trying to highlight the fact that too often, as of late, police response is often the first response
Right.
that everybody has, whether, like you said, the homeless issue, mental health, drug problems. And we have been trying to drive home the fact that we are, in fact, police officers. We are there to enforce the law. We are not social workers. We're not counselors. We're not drug counselors. We're not psychologists. And until our elected officials get to a place where they recognize that police response cannot be the answer for everything, you're going to constantly see conflict between certain segments of our community and police officers. So if I could get city leaders and even police leadership to recognize that there's going to need to be some funding to take care of these issues, I don't see a way back from the path that we're on right now.
Yeah, so I live and work in the city of San Francisco. We're here in Southern California, in your neck of the woods. The homeless crisis is actually very commingled with the drug problem,
Right.
the opioid issue. And so you have a confluence of problems all happening at once on any given individual, and there are thousands of homeless people in my city. The person whose property is a homeowner or a business owner is being damaged, is being defecated upon, they rightfully don't want to have those crimes happening. Homelessness in and of itself is not a crime, but there are so many things that go with homelessness that are crimes. So that's why the people call the police. But there's certainly better ways to address, like you said in an earlier conversation, 50 yards back. How to prevent that problem from happening. Are you able to make any headway with particularly Los Angeles?
Up until this point, no, we haven't. The model has been, well, let's have the police treat the symptom because it's much more difficult to treat the cause. But in Los Angeles County, we know that there's almost $1 billion sitting there that should be used and is supposed to be used for mental health issues. But like I said, treating the cause is much more difficult. So it's much easier to send the police to try and treat the symptoms, except what most community members don't understand is that when new units are created, like LAPD has our HOPE teams, which pairs police officers with sanitation, and they're supposed to provide some resources for the homeless. They clean up the encampments. There's a sanitation aspect to it. But all of those resources have to be pulled from somewhere, and they get pulled from our patrol force. And so what ultimately happens is we diminish our capability to do the core function of police work so that we can go deal with these other problems that we are waiting for our elected officials to take control of. It's not easy.
Yeah, and it's a problem in my way of looking at the world. It's not going to go away without a lot of emphasis being placed on educating not just the politicians, but the public who could put pressure on the politicians. Yes. The press is not particularly great at telling the law enforcement story, in a truthful, frankly, way.
Right.
Altogether too often, police are vilified by the media, mainstream media, in particular, national mainstream media, more particular. But if we can get participation from the public and understanding that there are better avenues for solving these problems, then we might be able to see some of the pressure being applied to people like the politicians and the press, right?
Well, it's true. The city council members that we talk with on a regular basis, they are very aware of what their constituents in their districts feel and think, and so they hold meetings regularly in there. And so our own community members have a much stronger impact on the elected officials
Mhm.
by virtue of them being an elected official than even the LAPPL can have. So you're right, it will take the active participation of community members to voice their concerns with their elected official.
Well, we'll keep doing our part to try and educate the public as best we can. I appreciate everything that you guys have done, and we'll keep pressing on.
Well, thanks for having me.
Doug Weiler, The Police Magazine.